Sanchez and Jessica Felix in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing until the flags exit the building.
Carry. Colors. Left turn. March. Left. 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 Right. 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 Left. 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 Right.
Please take your seat.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I am your member of Congress, Norma Torres. Covering a variety of different topics. Many of you know that things have been pretty busy in Washington in the last few weeks. And as any new administration, there is always a rush of new activity. But I think that it's safe to say that the first few weeks of President Trump's administration have been a bit more hectic than most. This past week, we were supposed to vote on a bill to repeal the Affordable Care Act, which many of you know as Obamacare.
Yeah.
With over 300,000 people in the 35th Congressional District. I want to make sure that everybody heard that. 300,000 people in the 35th Congressional District benefit from Medi-Cal, and the huge drop we saw in the uninsured rate. The bill that was proposed was very troubling to me. The plan would have had an enormous consequences for our country's economic and for the well-being of our neighbors and constituents. This is why it was concerning to me that the House Republicans didn't hold a single hearing on this proposed legislation. Typically, a bill will start in a committee, actually a subcommittee stage. This is where hearings with experts happen. The bill is amended before it goes to the full committee process. Republicans refused any Democratic amendments. They refused to have an open process. And the bill moved out of committee in the wee hours of the night, with very, very little input from our medical providers or the experts in the field. Several of my constituents wrote in and called my office to share how the Affordable Care Act would impact them specifically. A couple have agreed to share their stories with you today. Not a couple, but a few of those constituents who shared with us today their story.
My name is Eugene. I live in Chino, California. And my mother died of pancreatic cancer, and my sister also died this past October of pancreatic cancer. And my daughter and I also have the same gene pool. And so my daughter was looking for a less expensive insurance policy, health insurance, and so she went to Covered California, and it dropped her insurance bill to about a third of what it was.
Hi, my name is Wendy Whitaker, and I'm from San Bernardino, California, and I'm here to explain about what the Affordable Care Act has done for me. In my life, I never had any insurance as an adult. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and I could not get insurance back then. It was like 10 years ago. It would have been about $800 a month. I researched it again. It's now $1,600 a month with a pre-existing condition. I cannot do without insurance, and the only way that I was able to get insurance was because of the Affordable Care Act. And I have to take medication to survive every single day, and my medication is over $100 a bottle. Without the Affordable Care Act, you're going to put me out without medication again that I'm going to have to try to buy out of my pocket, and then have no medical insurance to go along with that, no doctor. I cannot afford that. I work very hard for very little money, and for an education and to be paid when I'm being paid, I can't afford $1,600 a month for insurance. I need help, please.
Thank you. We all know.
My name is Rebecca Armendariz, and I thank you for the opportunity to let my voice be heard about the Affordable Care Act and how important it is to me. I had great insurance at one time. I had a job, I had great insurance, but I was injured on the job, so I had to retire on disability. And at the time, I had no insurance. I didn't qualify for Medi-Cal. So I was receiving free care at the clinic at East Valley in Pomona. And when the Affordable Care Act came in, I was able to apply for the Medi-Cal, which improved my health care. I was able to receive more help for my diabetes and all the other effects of the diabetes. Also my arthritis on my knees, I was able to be sent to a specialist for them to look at my knees for the arthritis. And through these benefits, it has helped my overall health. Hello.
So we all know that the ACA is far from being perfect. And there are places and things that we can do to improve it, to lower the cost and expand access. When the law was initially passed, I was your state representative in the state assembly. And I worked with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to ensure that we made the best of it here through Covered California in the state. But getting rid of it altogether isn't the best option. And the plan that was proposed to replace it definitely wasn't an option for the working poor. In addition to the Affordable Care Act, I know that many of you are concerned with a wide range of issues, from immigration to transportation to jobs. Not just jobs, but quality jobs. To help me answer some of your questions, I have invited a panel of guest speakers who can give you an update and their expert opinion on any of these very important issues. Please help me welcome our guests, starting with James Gilliam. He is the Deputy Executive Director at the ACLU of Southern California. James. James has made it his priority to fight for the underserved groups through his work with the ACLU, oftentimes by providing pro bono representation. We also have Dr. Bradley Gilbert. Since 2008, Dr. Gilbert has been the Chief Executive Officer of the Inland Empire Health Plan. This is a nonprofit Medicaid and Medicare health plan provider with over 1.2 million members. And last but not least, we have Diane Cucimilla. She is the Director of Experiential Learning, Director of the Justice and Immigration Clinic, and Professor of Law at the University of Laverne. Professor Cucimilla has a long track record of fighting for immigrant rights through her career as an immigrant lawyer, representing non-citizens before INS, DHS, and other immigration enforcement agencies. Please help me and join me in giving them a very warm welcome. When you came in, my staff provided those of you who would like to ask a question with a ticket with a number on it. Junior ROTC, Joshua Reyes. Where's Joshua?
I think he's still on duty.
Okay.
So we have Daniela Sanchez.
Daniela Sanchez has agreed to volunteer to pull numbers out of this box. Let's keep us honest and let's keep it up front. If we call your number, please stand up, and one of my staff members will come around and give you a mic. We're going to try to call 2 or 3 different numbers at a time so that we can facilitate as many questions as we can today. We have a lot of people who want to ask questions, so my goal is to try to get as many of them answered in the hour and a half that we have together this morning. So please be brief. And if we don't get to your question, my staff also provided index cards. Write your question, and if I personally am able to either call you or send you a letter back, we will, with an answer. So please participate as much as you can, and I ask you once again to be respectful. We are a very diverse community, and we don't agree on everything, but what we do agree is that we're all in this together. And the Inland Empire is a wonderful place to live, and I am here as your representative to answer your questions. Shake it up. Our first number, here, I think, I didn't remember.
So 8012-489.
489. Please stand up, sir. Where's the mic? Where's the second mic?
Right here.
The second number will be 486, 2486, last 4 digits. And then the third will be 2484.
Starting with you, sir. Your name, please.
Joe Tonin. As an elementary school teacher for 31 years, I've seen how the ACA has helped my students and their families. What can we do to help improve the ACA and healthcare and coverage for all?
Thank you, Mr. Tonin, and I believe that you were one of my son's teachers. I haven't seen you in a while. What can we do? Certainly there is a lot of room to ensure that the pool of insurance companies that are currently participating in Cover California, is expanded. Many members of Congress talked about options, and in some of their communities not having very many insurance options. That's not necessarily the case here in California, because our state legislators did a great job in ensuring that they had an RFP process that forced folks to participate. And when we have more people participating in getting insurance, then the costs will go down. Now, none of us have seen our insurance rates go down. And the reason for that, think about how much they were climbing even before the Affordable Care Act was put into law. We were able to control some of those hikes, but not 100%. And that is certainly something that we should continue to address.
So maybe just, is that on? No. So just to add a little bit, so I want to give a couple statistics so we know how much it's being covered. And, there we go. And there's over 525,000 people who have received coverage through the ACA in the Inland Empire. The majority of those, 375,000, are on Medi-Cal, of which most of those are on Inland Empire Health Plan. So I think from the coverage perspective, for people being able to get insurance, it's worked very well. I think Congresswoman Torres has a good point, though, and there's two things I would say about it. One is we have to get our healthy individuals to make sure they get the coverage. I have 3 children. One of them said to me, "Dad, I don't really think I need insurance." I said, "I'm the CEO of a health plan, you're gonna need insurance." I don't care what you think. So I think we've got to get everybody insured who can be, so that makes it a good group of people that are covered. That'll help control the cost, because I think Congresswoman said some of the issues are cost. The second thing I would say is really make sure the coverage works. There are some levels within covered California that are a little bit difficult in terms of how much out-of-pocket costs you have. So I think continuing to look at the actual type of insurance coverage is important. And then lastly, one of the things that's really difficult for IEHP is that individuals lose their coverage. They lose their Medi-Cal eligibility. So they go on Medi-Cal, they go off Medi-Cal, they go on Medi-Cal, and that doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help the person because they suddenly go, well, now I can't get my medications covered like the woman on the video, or they can't get to their doctor. So making sure we're really organized about keeping people, when they get coverage, that we keep them on that coverage would be the piece that I would add.
Next question.
This question, in my comment, is I know we're talking about healthcare, but I'm intentionally here today to honor the life of Bertha Caceres, who is a fellow Central American woman like herself, who was assassinated within the last year. And our constituents here in Pomona, Claremont in this district, has been asking and calling on you to honor her life and to find ways to support the Bertha Caceres Human Rights and Nourish Act. And I wanted to personally ask you, not your staff or anyone else, how are you wanting to show up for a fellow Central American woman who has been assassinated by the Honduras government, and you have the ability within I'm so sorry, you have the ability for what you represent with having the Central American, I'm so sorry, Central American caucus that you have, and we have not been able to see you really come out and speak in a very explicit way about what has taken place with Bertha and honoring her family and honoring divesting from Military Act with what is taking place, and also the issues that we continue to see with the corruption of the Honduras government. And what are you going to do to really speak about this? Because Bertha Caceres' life needs to be honored.
Thank you. So let me address this issue in 2 ways. Number one, when the murder of this activist happened in Honduras, right away I put out a statement. It was a statement on social media. We connected with the ambassador, not just here in the U.S., but the ambassador in Honduras, asking for an investigation of this crime. I have been very, very focused in addressing the issues of the Northern Triangle, which are 3 countries, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras. You all remember in 2014, when we had 60+ thousand children come to our southern border seeking assistance because they were fleeing a very corrupt and very violent communities in their home country. I have worked on addressing those root causes. And my very first year in Congress, we kicked off a bipartisan group of members, a group, it's called the Central America Caucus. You don't have to be from the region, you just have to be interested in addressing humanitarian issues. This is not a place where we work on immigration issues because we know that we don't agree with our positions on those issues, Republicans and Democrats. This is a place where we simply discuss and try to bring awareness to these three governments about issues like that. And I've written several letters in support of an open investigation in this case. I think it's the reason why 3 people were arrested in the first 6 months, and within the last year, it's been a total of about 13 people. I can't remember the exact number. Obviously, this is not an issue that is going to be fixed overnight. These are governments, that have, it's a lifestyle for them. This is something that has been happening for many, many, many years, long before I got to Congress. But know that in me, you have somebody that is bringing accountability, and that no U.S. dollars will go to any government that, any corrupt government. I just found out this last week through a meeting with President Hernandez, the president of Honduras, that they are one country in the world that actually give some money to USAID. Now, that is, that's, our group, right? And the reason why they do that is because they know that in order to get any U.S. assistance to deal with some of the issues that we have there, they have to cooperate and they have to fund programs that are known to have a positive track record and have actual positive results, and USAID is one of those projects. So thank you for the question. Stay connected to our office. If you want copies of the numerous letters that I have written or signed on to, we're happy to provide all that.
We want you to support the act to make sure the military is not supporting, and also make sure that we're not saving money when we know that this government is implicit and that our military.
Thank you. Next question.
Good morning, Congresswoman. I'm very proud to say that I'm a dreamer. I'm 43 years old. When I was 18 years old, I dreamed to visit the world, and I joined the military, and I dreamed, and I did visit the world. So I'm a dreamer, a real dreamer. 43 years old. I was born in the valley. Another way, I know you since you used to have your old job, so I know you very well, ma'am. And I'm very proud to be your constituent. My question is, last week on the USA Today, I read an article of, I hope you know her, she's a freshman too, Representative Lisa Blanc Rochester from Delaware. And she signed a pledge of civility. And on the article talks about that she signed the pledge of civility to work with the House. And I'm gonna read my question verbatim because I don't want to take a long time. Are you signing the pledge of civility and working for the future and find something in common with other members of the House, Republicans, Democrats, and Independents alike?
Thank you for your question. What was your name again?
My name is Guillermo Velasco. I'm a constituent from Fontana.
Thank you, Mr. Velasco. Since I was first elected to the State Assembly in 2008, I have refused to sign pledges. I don't. Not from one organization or another. This is an issue that has made people that are close to me pretty upset because many of those pledges include issues that I'm very passionate about and that I work on. But needless to say, when I was a state representative and we were dealing with a $30 billion deficit, and Republicans had that pledge that they would not raise tax dollars for any reason, I worked really hard against that. Because we should never put ourselves in a corner. We should never put ourselves in a corner for any one particular organization or issue. We should always be open to dialogue, and I will continue to do that. So while everything that you said is important to me, I unfortunately cannot sign your pledge, but know that this is an issue, that is very important to me. I think I have demonstrated by example through the Central America Caucus. I demonstrated through the 6 years that I served as your state representative that I am not a stranger of working across the aisle with Republicans. I am willing, anytime, any day, to work with them on issues that we, may agree or may not agree on. So thank you for bringing it up.
So next 3 questions. 2267, last 4 numbers. 2267, 2341, and 2505.
Now, if you're shy to ask the question, if you want to write it, and we'll have one of our junior ROTC cadets read it for you too.
While people are getting to the mics, Congressman, would you like to take a Twitter question that came in while we're doing this now?
Okay, from Twitter. What is your plan to persuade Republicans to not pass this budget? Thank you to our friends on Twitter for asking that question. So the president has put out a budget proposal. The budget proposal is so bad that he put out that members of his own party are saying, that's great that he put that out, but we don't agree with that. And, the Republicans have a group of about 54 members. They're refer to themselves as the Tuesday group. We also have their moderate Republicans. We also have a group that's about 54 members on the Democratic side that are, the new desk, more moderate Democrats. And through the work of those 2 groups, we have been trying to find areas, where we share principles and we can work together. And what I am going to ensure that we continue to do with this proposal is fight those cuts. Cuts to our community programs like CDBG, like Meals on Wheels, is simply a non-starter for me. Non-starter.
Those numbers didn't catch anybody, so we'll try 3 more. 8012467. Oh, okay, great. So we'll do that one.
Hello, my name is Martha Baker. I'm a native Californian. I've always been a grassroots activist. I'm retired from the state service. I've seen my share of issues around our community, around the state. I know that there's a long list of concerns that people have, concerns that you brought up for us to question or to respond to. I think one of the top issues for me has always been the elderly. Social Security is being threatened. Medicare is being threatened. Naturally, health issues. People talk about, gang issues. You know what? At the state level, the local community, I think that's where that should be handled. I don't think we need to talk about federal issues there. But it's always been around and it's always going to happen. We just need to work on it a little bit harder. But what about this threat about Social Security and Medicare? My mom is 95 years old. It's not like she can go out and get a job. I did her budget the other day. She's living on $500 a month after all expenses are paid. There's that threat. So what do we do?
Absolutely. Thank you for your question, Martha. This is absolutely one of the most pending issues for all of us in Congress, is the future of Social Security. And what do we do to ensure that we continue to have a steady and a reliable fund for future generations? There's a lot that we can do. For example, removing the cap of, wealthy individuals. Removing that cap of how much people pay into the program is one way to address that. If we simply did that, we can extend the life of the program, or we can just fix that, the problem that we have right now. On the issue of making seniors a priority with Medicare, in the health care bill that Republicans proposed, we knew and we understood that seniors were going to be hurt the most. Their premiums would have triple, quadruple. They would have, insurance companies would have been authorized to charge you 5 times more than a younger person. And diseases don't have an age limit, right? I mean, I could look like a healthy, I wish, a healthy 21-year-old could look really healthy, but maybe they're not. And a senior could be very healthy and maybe they're not. There's certainly, we have to find more ways to ensure that we have a funding mechanism for these programs to continue. And I'm committed to continuing that work. Anyone on the panel?
I would just comment that Illinois Empire Health Plan takes care of the most vulnerable seniors, individuals that have both Medicare and Medi-Cal. So those are very low-income seniors and individuals that are fully disabled. And so our ability to continue that program, which is very comprehensive, provides at really almost no cost to the member a very rich set of services, including working with in-home supportive services, long-term care facilities when that's needed. And so that kind of program really does need to continue for that very, very vulnerable group. And we've got to make sure that we're working with Congresswoman and the other members of Congress to say this is really important for that very vulnerable group of people.
2 more numbers, 801-2312 and 801-2310.
Even though the bill was pulled yesterday, the Affordable Care Act, new bill, could it possibly be defunded through the reappropriations committee or through some federal regulation?
It could come back in a different way. We heard from President Trump yesterday that he was going to move on. His positions are ever-changing. So we don't know. It could come back, and all of us, every single person in this room, has to be prepared, to continue the pressure, to continue to push back. Because every time absolutely resist. Absolutely. Let me tell you, it wasn't just members of Congress, that delivered a win for our communities. It was you, and you should be congratulated. It was the pressure that you put on members like me, members, of other members in other districts. So keep up the pressure. Don't stop. Every single day we have things that come out that are meant to take our focus away from the policies that they are changing. Every single day. Russia's important, and we're going to deal with that, and we're working on that, and you should don't lose focus, because all of it is important, but the most important thing this week was the Affordable Care Act. So thank you for not losing focus and staying on.
Really important point. I would add a couple thing. One is that they can do a lot through regulations, and there was the the appointment of Dr. Price and Seema Verma to key positions, and I want to read you a sentence from a letter that they sent to all the governors. The expansion of Medicaid through the Affordable Care Act to non-disabled working-age adults without dependent children, which is called the Medicaid expansion, was a clear departure from the core historical mission of the program. So they're really saying that those two, don't believe that the expansion was an important part. I don't understand that at all. These are individuals that are low income, they have diabetes, they have hypertension, they have illnesses, they didn't necessarily have coverage, as you heard from the third individual who spoke on the video. 375,000 people in the Inland Empire have gotten coverage specifically through the expansion of Medicaid through the ACA. And yet you have the head of HHS and the head of CMS saying they don't see it as a core part of the program, which I don't agree with. But I think, so concerns about regulatory changes, because they can do that. And then second, to the Congresswoman's point, something can come back. I think there was a very effective grassroots, and actually I was proud. I don't always agree with the California Medical Association and the American Medical Association, but they both came out very strongly against it.
Just one final thought. We are in the appropriation process now, so it's now until September. So any way that you can to help influence that process, whether it's through calls or letters or social media activism, please exercise your rights to connect with your representatives, me, and invite your family and friends to do the same.
Good morning. My name is Lindsay Burrow. I'm a constituent living in Chino, and I'm also a nursing student. I'm set to graduate in a couple of months from Cal State Fullerton. Before you guys, I just want to say that one great way to improve access to care and improve quality of care is to please have you co-sponsor the Title VIII Nursing Workforce Reauthorization Act, which will allow advanced practicing nurses to practice to the full extent of their license and will provide cheaper care, but without losing any quality to our population. My question is, I recently developed a passion for researching the public health issues that are associated with menstrual health, and there are so many elements that are necessary in order to keep people healthy while managing their menstrual cycles. This is particularly a vulnerable issue for our low income and our homeless populations, which are growing in our communities. There are currently two California state bills, 89 and 10, which are proposed to improve access to menstrual products by reclassifying them as health-related items, making them tax exempt, and also providing for free in shelters and schools. I'm wondering how we can, your position on this, and do you support a federal elimination of the luxury tax? And may I provide you with resources in support of you? It's a real passion of mine. I think it's not just a women's health issue, it's also a public health issue.
Congratulations on getting your degree. We certainly need more young women like you involved and in the field. Newsflash, I'm a woman. This is an issue that is very near and dear to me. We will absolutely look at that piece of legislation, and if you leave us your name and address, we will follow up with you, as well as the young lady that talked about Honduras issues. Leave your name and number, we can follow up with you, please.
So first I'm going to read through some numbers we already called, make sure we didn't miss anyone. 8012341, 8012505, 8012467, 8012312, and 8012310. So those are the ones that we may have missed. And
Congresswoman Norma Torres. Thank you so much, and the Norma Torres team. I guess I'll apologize about going in and out, but it's a wonderful thing. My mom was on her way to bring a huge American flag without a stick. So we could kind of maybe perhaps just happen to wave it and hold it, maybe perhaps in front of some really racist people. And so, okay, thank you. So my question is, will you accept an amazing gift from Pomona constituents and even people in Rancho Cucamonga? And I have it here. It's just a huge yellow ribbon in honor of little Jonah Wayne, who many of you know. Thank you. Who little Jonah Wayne, of course, was killed in a drive-by shooting in Pomona about a month ago. But the reason people, I'm sure, are clapping because we're standing for love, and we're standing for peace, and we're standing for protecting everyone. So, thank you.
It's a big, huge yellow ribbon.
As former mayor of Pomona, it is very painful to hear about stories like this. Pomona is my home city, and my office, although I could not be there on Thursday, we facilitated a meeting for our police chief and our new Attorney General, Representative Becerra. I think Ms. Ontiveros, City Councilwoman in the city of Pomona, my son Robert Torres, and Councilwoman Christina Carasosa were in attendance. Thank you for your leadership. We are trying to find ways in which we can help bring more resources to the city, to deal with our recent crime statistics, and that was the purpose of that meeting. Governor Brown was also in DC this week, and I, along with other members of Congress, the California delegation, had an opportunity to have breakfast with him. I brought up this issue before him. He was involved in Pomona before. We had that other little boy in the murder in front of our courthouse. We asked Governor Brown to connect back with our city and our city officials, and he's committed to do some follow-up. So our office will follow up with him to make sure that we stay in the forefront of his attention. Thank you for bringing up that issue.
Hello, Ms. Norma Torres. My name is Robert E. Alonso. A short story. Did you know that my mother was born in San Luis, Mexico? My dad was born in Texas. But my mother, before she came to America, my mother had to go through the legal system. My dad had to work out the money, the little money he had, to bring, to legalize my mother to become an American citizen. So, since my mother did that, went through the process of doing that the right way, don't you think that people from Mexico can do the same thing? Okay? That's the way I feel. And not only that, my parents didn't give me an opportunity to have an education. I got a bachelor's degree. I worked for the state. I retired at the age of 44. I believe people can do things right, come in here right, do everything legally right. And I don't agree with most of you guys, okay?
Thank you for your statement, and thank you for your service. Thank you for your service as a veteran. Absolutely. All of us, I think, in this room agree to some degree with him. The process is broken, is the problem that we have. We have not funded the agency to process the Therefore, people, like, I believe it was your father, that had an opportunity to apply back in the day, it didn't take 30, 35, 40 years to process those applications. It's taking us that long. So, Robert, I think that there is room, and I hope that you will stay connected to my office, and you and I can continue this dialogue, because I think that there is room there where we agree on an issue that I think that we should continue to push members of Congress and members of the U.S. Senate to ensure that we fully fund this department so that people don't have to come here undocumented, that people can go through a process that is efficient and it actually works for our country. There's another issue. We're going to do a Twitter question really quick. Omar S_89. What approach will you take to protect dreamers, or what plan do you support to provide relief? As a member of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, we have been, pretty involved in this issue. Written several letters, and I currently have a bill that says that no federal dollars should be utilized to go after the dreamer population. We provide these are young adults that came to our country not by choice. Their parents sent them here, or they came here as a very small child. And they have done the right thing. They have stayed out of trouble. They've stayed in school. They have a lot to offer our country, our economy, and we should be working with this population to ensure that they are part of the American dream.
So just to add to that, I believe the act that you're talking about is the Bridge Act. So that's pending right now. There hasn't been a lot of movement on that. President Trump has not stated yet what he will do, what his policy will be regarding the DACA recipients. And so I've been speaking at universities, I've been speaking at other locations where some of the people who have DACA have been asking, what should we do now? Should we be renewing our DACA paperwork, or should we not? And I encourage all of you to basically to support or to write into your, obviously this is your member of Congress, but to be active and to be supportive of the people in the community who are working hard to get an education, who just want to share in the same American dream that so many other people have, and that so many generations of people have been able to take advantage of, have been able to benefit from. And our country is rich enough to be able to share that, with people who came through no fault of their own. It was not necessarily their choice. They came when they were very young, often, most often with their parents, and had a right to an education. As Congresswoman said, they have stayed out of trouble. They are working hard, and they just, they know this country. This is what they feel is their home, and we need to find a path for them. DACA was never intended to be the end. That was intended to be a bridge of sorts to legislation.
Two numbers, and then the Congressman will take one for Twitter while people get to the microphones. Last three digits are 536, and the last three digits are 517.
You can stand up so my staff can get to you. This question comes from Twitter, Norma, how will you help to bring the community together, pro-Trump and anti-Trump constituents? I think it's a really great question, and I think that all of us really need to reflect on that. We have opportunities to work. We're all American citizens. You know, we're all live here in the Inland Empire. Our children play together. Our children go to school together. We shop in the same places. We see each other at different restaurants. There is a lot at stake here. Dividing our community is certainly no way to deal with the problems that we have at hand. Now, we had a terrible downturn in our economy, and we had a terrible foreclosure crisis from 2008 to 2012. The Inland Empire gained about 250,000 LA County residents because they simply could not afford to live in LA County anymore. We housed them. You know, they came here. We continue to build affordable housing here. So we have so much in common with our neighbors, more so than not. And I think it's each individual person, their responsibility to ensure that we are reaching out to our neighbors. Sometimes, look, when I moved to Pomona, you know, on Ganesha Place, it was the ugliest house on this little street, but it was the only place my husband and I could afford to buy a home and raise our boys. We moved there because the community was great, but frankly, we were not welcome. The first thing, you know, that our neighbors said to us was, "Look at how terrible your yard looks." It wasn't "Welcome to the neighborhood. We look forward to seeing how you improve, you know, your home." It wasn't that. It was very judgmental, and I think we have to reflect on how we address each other and how we conduct ourselves. And that is the only way we're going to be able to reach agreement with our neighbors. Finding small areas, you know, where we could agree and find common ground. It just so happened that the Neighborhood Watch group was so busy watching, you know, the family with the young boys that, you know, while there was crime happening, our house was the only one that was exempt from all that crime because everybody was watching us. So, you know, I never gave up. I never gave up. I attended the neighborhood watch meetings. I became a part of them, and eventually they got to know me. They embraced me. I ended up running that neighborhood watch, growing it, and look, they elected me not only to their city council, but they elected me as their mayor, and they sent me to Congress. So, you know, where we started very, you know, negative, and it could have been really, really bad for all of us, we turned it into something positive. And I think that our community, each and every single one of us, can offer that. But you tell me to work on a bipartisan, you know, way, and to find places to work with my Republican colleagues. I go to DC and I do that. But when the calls that I get, you know, that come in and talk about those people, you can't be judgmental about your neighbors either. You know, we can't. To know that we see where they're coming from. This is a very diverse community, and you know, a lot of the problems that I see is because we simply don't know our neighbors. So do me a favor, you know, go introduce yourself to the neighbor next door, and join one of your community groups. Attend your city council meetings, and become more involved, and become a part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Are you spending time with that grandbaby yet?
I just gave him a hug because I haven't seen him in 2 weeks.
Okay, spend some time. And congratulations on Robert. He'll be president one day. My question is, what is being done to break down the cost of health care?
What is being done to bring down the cost of health care? Right now, I think Congress, we have been too busy working to repeal it. And that's not the answer. You and I, all of us in this room know that. What we need to do, again, is continue to increase that pool. You know, more younger, more healthy people to join to ensure that, you know, we can bring those premiums down. At the same time, we need to hold insurance companies accountable. We need to hold drug companies accountable.
Yes.
The drug prices are so high and they have continued to skyrocket so much that that is part of the problem. When you go to the doctor and that doctor, and that doctor is too quick to write you a prescription for an opioid, rather than maybe working with you to manage your pain, that is a problem that we have not focused on. It is now getting some attention in Congress because we are seeing more and more of our neighbors, of our family members, you know, they're having problems with addictions. So it's certainly something that we need to continue to work on. Dr. Gilbert, I know that you will have something to add to this.
So I think you have to start with coverage. You have to get people covered. Then I think you have to talk about the cost. And I think Congressman said it in a couple of good ways, I think. One is everybody has to have the coverage. You can't have my 25-year-old healthy kid deciding not to get coverage because then it affects them the premiums that we pay. And then second, I do think drug costs are complicated. I mean, there are pharmaceutical companies that just grossly raise the prices of things for no reason. There's no valid reason for that, and that absolutely has to be stopped. But the second part is we invent new and what we think are better medications that are very expensive. And that gets really tricky because some of them work really well, and so we want to make sure they're available to the people that need them, but you also want to use them wisely. Because some of them cost, as you probably heard, you know, in the papers, $80,000 to $100,000 for a course of treatment. And so we've got to make sure we use them right. We absolutely need to make sure we use them for the people that need them. I'm a physician, so I'm going to want to make sure I can treat the people that need to be treated. So I would say you've got to start with coverage. If you get people off coverage, guess what? They still cost. They go to the emergency room, they use services, they get admitted to the hospital, and they can't pay because of the cost. And so then it ends up being all of us who end up paying for that anyway. So I would say start with coverage, and I think to Congressman's point, then start looking at the various pieces of cost that we can work on. It needs to come in. We're twice as expensive as pretty much any other country in the world.
I just wanted to add something here also, if I could. So from the ACLU, although most folks think of us as being a very progressive organization, we're a nonpartisan organization. So we do not endorse or support candidates of any sort. We have held every prior president accountable. Imagine having to hold this president accountable a bit more frequently, and we imagine having to hold every future president accountable as well. So I was thinking about that last question, and now this question really is kind of a combined answer. How do you work across the aisles? Well, part of that's what we have to do at our organization every day, and certainly now if we want to see legislation pass. And so years ago, I had the opportunity to meet Dr. Elaine Brown, who was one of the few female leaders of the Black Panther movement, and I talked to her about the divided community that she led, and she talked to me about the importance of focusing on the commonalities, and then using those commonalities for ways to bridge and work together. And so the answer you just heard, I've talked with so many people on both sides of the aisle who are concerned about rising healthcare costs and whose siblings and parents cannot pay rising costs for pills, for example, for their prescriptions. And so that, and last year, for example, we saw an opportunity to work alongside both sides of the aisle on the surveillance that was happening to all of Americans through our phones, right? That was an issue that Republicans and Democrats were upset about. And so just to say, things like safety in your community, paying rising healthcare costs, our phones being wiretapped, all of that, those things that everyone is concerned about give you opportunities. Those common concerns do give you opportunities to work across the aisle and form allies and friendships, so that then someone who perhaps won't listen to you on an issue on which they don't agree might be open to listening more after you've worked together on something else.
423, 323, and 407.
Good morning. Thank you for holding this town hall. My question is with regard to the environment. What are your intentions as a member of the Natural Resources Committee and the subcommittees on which you sit with regard to the recent getting of environmental protections and as well as the pipeline projects on Native American lands?
Melissa, thank you for that question. I want to start by saying Natural Resources Committee is a very tough committee to be on in this Congress. Very, very tough. And the reason why it's so tough is that when you're starting from a perspective that climate change does not exist, it's a very difficult position to start from, because how do you work with someone that is stuck in that mindset when we know that every single year we have storms, the types of storms, and just the weather conditions that are happening, and all of the things that are happening, not just in our state of California or in the country, but in the world, and environmental justice has to continue to be a priority, not just for the U.S., but it should be a global policy. I'm, very proud of our governor that went to Paris and is part of that whole group of global leaders that decided they were going to come together and work to address this issue. I sit on the Federal Lands Committee, and I am also the ranking member, which is like equal to a vice chair. Because I'm on the minority, caucus as a Democrat in Congress. I am the ranking member of the Guyana, we call it the Guyana Committee, which oversees issues of Native Americans in our territories and Alaska Natives. On the pipeline issue, XL, I am on record of voting, against that. On the issue of even drilling or bringing a pipeline through native lands, I have written letters opposing that. I stand with the Standing Rock. And I will continue to be a strong proponent for environmental issues. I want to go back and talk about the meeting that we had with Governor Brown. You're familiar with the Cap and Trade Dollars, which was a program that was created to help industries that have to control their emissions. The Inland Empire, the congressional district that I represent, 35th Congressional District, got $0 in allocation this year. But yet two of our cities, my home city of Pomona and the city of Ontario, have been identified as having the worst air quality in the state. So, my question to him was, how does this happen? When for the first time, this year, we were promised a process that would target communities like our communities here. Look, you and I cannot control which way the wind is blowing. We live in a bowl. So when the wind is blowing from from whatever direction, it stays here. And so don't continue to punish us or our business community and continue to have us pay into a program that we see no benefit coming back to our communities. I will continue to champion those issues. You have my commitment on that. I think I have a pretty good voting record, 100% with Sierra Club in this last Congress. when I said, when you're dealing with people that are denying, the basic fundamental problem that we have of climate change. We'll take the next question.
232.
How's it going? My name is Ramon Martinez, and I'm from Pomona. The question I have is, we're talking about accountability, and this guy's going on the weekend, spending millions and millions of dollars just after time.
Impeach the president! Impeach Trump!
Let me tell you something about this. This does not include the 3 grown children or their travel. This does not include the 3 grown children. They recently asked for $16 million additional dollars. New York is complaining because it is costing them, their police department, about $100,000 a day. But again, we have to also accept that the security of our president, whether we like him or not, it is a priority, right? It is a priority. He needs to figure out where he wants to
Or pay taxes.
Or pay taxes. The safety or security, of our national leader, whether we like him on a personal level or not. I have to say that. At the same time, he should pick where he wants to live. Going to Mar-a-Lago every weekend, as his weekend home is costing a lot of money. Having his wife, living in New York at the Trump Tower is costing a lot of money. And then having him at the White House, in addition, to the travel that his 3 grown children are doing is simply unacceptable. And we have to find a way to get them to understand that they need to see this for what it is. We'll take the next question. This will be the last question.
Hi, my name is Sandra Rose. I'm from Chino, California, and I would agree with Republicans and Democrats that there's a lot of things to be fixing in this country. But the thing that concerns me, I'm glad ACLU gentleman is here. If we lose our civil liberties, we can't fix anything. And I'm not sure Trump believes in democracy, and I'm really concerned about how we can get Steve Bannon out of the White House.
ACLU support and love is felt in the room and in rooms all around the country these days. And we have an office in the Inland Empire in San Bernardino, and we're soon will be doubling the size of that office to make sure that we're trying to address the needs out here.
Thank you.
As I said, we're a nonpartisan, non-government organization, and so we really are focused on the policies that the government actors and those in power enact upon us. And so we haven't focused very much on specifically Bannon, for example, that he talked about, but really looking at the policies or things that he does or the people that work for him will do. And I hear you, and I hear your concern about our civil liberties. And I've been giving these talks all around the state really since the election, and even more so since the inauguration. And while I certainly know the importance about being concerned, I also want to make sure that you all leave here with some hope. Our country has faced significant, difficult times throughout the organization that I work for's history. We're almost 100 years old. We were founded in 1920 when Attorney General Palmer was also engaging in immigration raids and rounding people up and deporting them from our country. We have seen the internment of Japanese Americans in our country. We've seen the hysteria around McCarthyism. while I was in law school as an openly gay man, I was considered a criminal with no rights. And we've seen time and time and again that constitutional principles have prevailed. And those have been... My mic keeps cutting out. My point would be that there are lots of great organizations like ours that we work alongside with. This is not our first time doing this work. We have a rich nationwide infrastructure with an office in every state. We've got 300 lawyers to take on the government's 19,000. We're raising lots of money. We plan to hire as many people as we can to take on all that they're doing, but just to say, we know what we're doing, we've got experience, and we appreciate all the support and the love that we're feeling from all of you. It will take all of us to make this work this time. Those issues, what some people sometimes say to me is, yeah, well, that was one group that was under attack at a time, right? Now it feels like at some point, all of us will be under attack. So that just means all of us have to work together, but we can do that, and I'm happy to talk with any of you after also.
And there is so much development on this issue. Sandra, thank you for asking that question. Know that I have signed a letter asking for Mr. Banner to be removed. We will continue to work on this. I now sit on the Foreign Affairs Committee. 2 weeks ago, we had a hearing on Russia as interfering. What we wanted the hearing to be from a democratic perspective is we wanted to know more about their influence in our election. We're going to continue to pressure we are asking the Intelligence Committee to step up with independent investigation. You should be very concerned about a foreign government having influence in our election. Talk about a variety of different issues. There is certainly a lot more to talk about. We will continue to reach out to you. If there is a specific topic that you're interested in, we have smaller roundtable discussions with different groups. Please sign up to receive our newsletter. I promise you that we don't send emails every day. We don't. And if you start, to get that from me, call my office and leave a message, a personal message directly from me. I'll make sure that my staff doesn't do that. We want to make sure that you stay informed and that we keep you informed of the issues at hand that are really, really important. And in this administration, it's never been more important for you to stay engaged, to stay involved, and to voice your concerns. Whether I agree with you or not, I need to hear from you. Your opinion matters. This is a very diverse community. I can only be as efficient as I can in Congress if I hear from you. Right. If I know how you feel on different things. So, please connect with our office. I want to thank the Ontario Police Department. And thank you, all of you here that express your opinions and were respectful to each other. There are several locally elected officials in the audience that I have not recognized, and I didn't want to put you out there because I wasn't sure how this meeting was going to go. Okay, you're going to have to read this.
We have San Bernardino Municipal Water Board, Randall Ceniceros. We have a city councilman of the city of Chino, Tom Howey. We have Pomona City Councilwoman Elizabeth Ontiveros Cole. John Dutray. And we have Pomona City Councilman Robert Torres.
Thank you again for joining us this morning. Your time is very valuable to me. You know, I got in at 2 a.m. last night. I was so hungry. I made myself a turkey sandwich before I went to bed. So my husband woke up this morning and said, "You didn't clean up after yourself." I've had a great time with you today, and I hope that you found this, first town hall to be informative, and I want to thank you again to our special guests for taking time. Justin is my legislative director, so if there are bills of concern that you want me to support or oppose, if there are letters that you want me to sign on to or you want me to write on behalf of our community, he is someone that will be looking at all of those things. So Vera, Sandoval is in the back. The staff okay. Daniel, is Daniel here? Okay, and then Mario. I thought you guys were all outside. They do a great job every single day, being, my representative here in the community. It's been really, really busy. I haven't been able to come home except on late Thursday nights or sometimes Fridays, so that means that I don't have a weekday, to have meetings. Most of our meetings are done with you on a Saturday morning, and it's because of that. But I do come home every weekend, so please reach out to our office, Stay Connected. Go to our Facebook page, our Twitter page, and our Instagram page. Thank you again.
The blue card, if you have a question, there'll be a box outside to collect those. We look forward to responding to as many